everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing all of the books that I read during the month of September. So I'll be going through a brief synopsis for each book, what I rated each book, the formats that I read the book in, and who I would recommend each of these books to. As always, I'm going to first give you a brief overview of what my reading looked like last month. So I ended up reading 9 books total, and my average Storygraph rating for the month was 4.5 stars. I honestly am very pleased with the amount of reading that I did because reading has been a great way for me to relax during college, and I'm very glad that I've been able to set aside time for it. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into these books. The first book I read was Culti by Mariana Zapata, and I read this on Kindle Unlimited. This is a slow burn romance just like all of Mariana Zapata's other books, and I am obsessed with slow burn. I get bored pretty easily when I'm reading romances that aren't slow burns, and I'm especially obsessed with Mariana Zapata's writing because you truly get to know her main characters well. We get to spend so much time with the main characters, and it's so easy for me to get wrapped up in their lives, which I absolutely love. They're all slice of life stories that you can really lose yourself in. But anyway, this book follows Sal and Culti. Sal is a professional soccer player on a women's team in Texas, and Culti is a professional soccer player from Germany, or at least he used to be, and now he's one of the coaches for Sal's soccer team. Growing up, Sal always watched Culti play on TV because I think he's like 10 years older than her, and Sal was literally obsessed with him. She had his pictures on her wall and everything. However, Sal's brother is also a professional soccer player, and he gets into an altercation of sorts with Culti, and after that, Sal isn't really sure how to feel about him. And then once Culti becomes her coach, she starts to really hate him because he acts like he's too good to be their coach, and he is extremely rude to everyone around him. A good portion of the book is spent with them hating each other, but they slowly become friends, and then they slowly become best friends, and finally they fall for each other. This was a delight, and I rated it 4 stars. I loved how we got to see every single aspect of their relationship, and it was also one of the best sports romances that I have ever read. Although, to be fair, I think I've enjoyed literally every single sports romance I've read. It's one of my favorite genres, which is honestly kind of weird because I don't really like sports, but something about it just works for me. Anyway, I loved how strong Sal was as a main character, and Culti was so perfect for her. Their banter was everything, and I'm obsessed. I rated it 4 stars instead of 5 simply because I couldn't really relate to the book that much, and I felt a bit disconnected from it, but that might have just been a situational thing. I definitely want to reread this book at some point, and I will let you know if I end up changing my rating. Overall, I recommend this book to anyone who loves a good slow burn or sports romance. Next, I read Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas on Kindle Unlimited as well. This is the first dark romance I've ever read, and even though this is probably the least dark romance in that whole genre, it still took me by surprise. This book follows Misha and Ryan, and they have both been pen pals since elementary school. Since Misha has a relatively feminine name and Ryan has a relatively masculine name, when their teachers were matching students up across schools to be pen pals, Misha's teacher matched Misha up with Ryan, thinking that Ryan was a guy, and Ryan got matched up with Misha because her teacher also thought that Misha was a girl. Long story short, they decided to keep being pen pals, and they are now both in high school. I believe they are both seniors in high school in this book, and they have both agreed to only communicate with each other through letters, so they aren't supposed to look each other up on the internet or try to find each other. Their reasoning behind this is that they have such a good pen pal relationship, and they're able to talk about anything and everything with each other, so they don't want to ruin their closeness by meeting in person and not liking each other in real life or something. However, after a series of events, Misha realizes that he might have actually met Ryan in real life, and he looks her up and finds out that Ryan has been hiding some things from him. First of all, in her letters, she acts like she hates the popular crowd at her school, and she says she would never be like them, but guess what? Ryan is arguably the most popular girl at her school. She's on the cheer team, and she has a thing with the most popular guy in school, and when Misha finds out, he is pissed because he thought he was friends with someone who could never be fake, but it turns out that Ryan is one of the most fake people ever. After something very dark and traumatizing happens to Misha, he ends up taking on a new identity and transferring schools schools to Ryan's school, and he takes it upon himself to bully her just for fun. He thinks Ryan needs to be taken down a notch because she literally bullies others for fun with her friends, and he thinks he's the perfect person to teach her a lesson. They obviously hate each other after they meet in real life, but slowly they start to realize that they might actually be perfect for each other. This was incredible, and I rated it 5 stars. I was fully invested in the story from start to finish, and there is a mystery component to the story that also kept me intrigued. I literally was zooming through the story just to see what would happen once Ryan found out who Misha really was, and I also wanted to see why Misha ended up at Ryan's school of all places, because we know some details about what happened to him, but we don't know why exactly he ended up at Ryan's school, and I thought that that reveal was pretty interesting. I definitely didn't see that plot twist coming, and this book got really dark, so I would definitely search up trigger warnings before reading this. You also truly have to be in the mood for a bully romance before you read this, because otherwise you will probably be very annoyed by a lot of the things that happen in this book. Like right now, as I'm thinking about some of the things that went down in this book, I can definitely see why this isn't everyone's cup of tea. The bullying is very intense and humiliating, so just know that before going in, but it was very well written, and it's been a while since I've been this invested in a book. This is the first Penelope Douglas book that I've ever read, and their writing is so beautiful. The scenes at the abandoned theme park, I think it was, were especially beautiful, and overall, I recommend this to anyone looking for a new adult romance that will keep you interested the entire time. After that, I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata on Kindle Unlimited. This book follows Vanessa and Aiden. So Aiden is a professional football player and Vanessa is his personal assistant, but he always treats her poorly by never paying attention to her and never thanking her properly for everything that she does for him, which really sucks because Vanessa works way too hard for him. Eventually, Vanessa decides that she can't take any more of this and she quits to focus on her small business, but not too long after that, Aiden shows up at her door and asks her for a pretty insane favor, which I won't spoil. Someone on YouTube or TikTok actually spoiled the favor for me, and I really wish I went into this book a little bit more blind, because I feel like the shock factor that comes with that favor is part of what makes this a more enjoyable book, but I still really love this book. If you're curious about what he asks her to do for him, you can probably find that information really easily on the internet. The only thing I'll say is that it is a relatively well-known romance trope. Anyway, Aiden really has to beg her to agree, and I really enjoyed seeing that, and eventually she does give in. From there, their relationship progresses, and since I won't be spoiling the favor in this video, I can't go into too much more detail about this book, but it was incredible and I rated it 5 stars. Getting to see Aiden beg Vanessa to help him out again and again throughout this book was amazing, especially after seeing how he treats her at the beginning. Honestly, Aiden's character development throughout the book was just very well done. Again, if you like sports romances and slow burns, this is an incredible one. Then I went into Flock by Kate Stewart on Kindle Unlimited. I also will not be going into too much detail about this book in this video because the shock factor is definitely emphasized in this book as well. If you read the synopsis for this book, it literally does not give anything away, and that is definitely done for a reason. All I'm going to tell you is that it is a small town romance. I honestly did not like this book, and I'm not going to be continuing on with the series. I know this book series is super popular on TikTok, but it is just not for me. A lot of the decisions that the characters make are just not ones that I'm into reading about or experiencing. This book just didn't work for me, and that's okay. I didn't hate it because of the polyamorous relationship, by the way. In fact, that's one of the only things that I actually liked about it. I rated it 3 stars because it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good either. If you are intrigued by the synopsis and if you are into super small town romances, then I think you might like it, but I'm not entirely sure. It's very popular, so I feel like it's worth a try at least. Next, I read the first Winnie the Pooh book on my Kindle while listening to the audiobook at the same time. I was just feeling nostalgic and I wanted something to fall asleep to, and this did a perfect job. If you didn't know, Winnie the Pooh follows a boy named Christopher Robin and his adventures with his imaginary animal friends. So you have Winnie the Pooh, obviously, and then Piglet, Eeyore, Tigger, and Owl. They're just a bunch of whimsical little tales, and I rated this book 4 stars. It wasn't that gripping or anything, but it was definitely a trip down memory lane. After that, I read Dear Erin by Mariana Zapata on Kindle Unlimited. This book follows Erin, as the title implies, and Ruby. Ruby signs up to be a volunteer who sends a soldier emails, letters, and care packages, and the soldier who she gets assigned to is none other than Erin. At first, Erin isn't very responsive responsive to Ruby's letters and emails, but as time goes on, he starts to open up to her and they develop a deep, meaningful connection. The first half of this book contains only letters, emails, and messages between the two of them, and I absolutely loved that. It was such a unique format, and I felt like I got to know both Aaron and Ruby very well just from their communications. They talk to each other about all their issues, and they know each other's likes and dislikes. Their banter was also incredible. After the first half of the book, Aaron does end up coming back to the United States, and we get to see the two of them talk on the phone and meet in real life, and it was just so wholesome. I rated this book 4.5 stars, and the reason why I took half a star away is because the ending was just too rushed for me. After everything that Ruby and Aaron went through, I felt like I needed to see a little bit more of their happy ending, but either way, it was such an enjoyable book. It's over 500 pages, and I got through it in less than 24 hours. So that in and of itself just tells you everything that you need to know about how much I enjoy this book, and I will definitely be rereading this in the future. It's such a comforting read, even though it deals with some pretty heavy topics, and I think it's perfect to read on a rainy day or something. Then I read From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata, also on Kindle Unlimited. This book follows Ivan and Jasmine is actually the younger sister of Ruby from Dear Aaron, so we get to see some cameos from Ruby, Aaron, and their kids, so that was really cute. Anyway, Ivan and Jasmine are both professional figure skaters, and Jasmine has always hated Ivan. She thinks he's just a pretentious rich guy, and she wants nothing to do with him. She's also very high-strung and high-achieving, and has big goals for herself and her figure skating career, but she has had a lot of mishaps along the way, and she doesn't feel like she's doing as well as she could be. One day, Jasmine gets called into a meeting with none other than Ivan and his coach, and she finds out that Ivan's skating partner has decided to take a year off, and Ivan wants Jasmine to be his new partner for that year. Jasmine is very taken aback by this because they both hate each other, and she's not sure why he's coming to her about this when he could go to other people, but eventually she agrees to be his partner, and they start spending tons of time together because they need to practice for their upcoming competitions. As they spend more and more time together, they start to learn about each other's lives, and they start becoming friends. I rated this 5 stars because this was such an easy book to lose myself in, and Jasmine was also very relatable. The way that she deals with perfectionism in this story is very realistic, and I love how Ivan respected her even when he hated her at the very beginning. I also like it when two people who really hate each other are put together on a team for a competition in books. It always works so well for me, and again, I love a good sports romance, so this was great. I also adored the scenes where Ivan takes care of Jasmine when she's sick. I feel like everyone talks about those scenes on Book Talk, and I was scared that they wouldn't live up to the hype, but they definitely did. I also appreciated the fact that there was no huge third act conflict, and despite hating each other at the very beginning, Ivan and Jasmine learned to communicate with each other very well. I definitely recommend this if you like slow burn sports romances, like most of Mariana Zapata's other books. And then I reread volumes 2 and 3 of Heartstopper in paperback. Since I've already talked about Heartstopper in my very first reading wrap-up video, I won't go into detail in this video, but it is such an amazing graphic novel, and I also watched the TV show, so I'm very obsessed with it and I highly recommend it. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I've already started in on a few amazing books for October, so stay tuned for more reading wrap-up videos. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I would love it if you could comment the last book you read or what you're currently reading, because I would love to know. I really hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you next week.